All right, so this car market is a very, very crazy place. And over the last few years, we've seen some car dealers get very resourceful as far as how they're able to price their vehicles, display their vehicles, advertise their vehicles, because we've had this production shortage and they were trying to figure out any way to be able to get customers into cars without them knowing that they were actually gouging them. So I actually have a story here showing that some of these dealerships can do things the wrong way and the customer ends up suffering. Now, let's see if I can figure out how to pull this up. There we go. So we have this dealership that's just got they have to pay $100,000 in damages to this customer. But what they actually did was sold a customer a F-250 Super Duty truck um, that actually had damage on it. This was a brand new truck, but had been wrecked before the customer bought it. And the only reason why the customer was able to figure this out is because he noticed that, okay, this truck was not driving the way that he wanted it to drive. It had some play in the front end, some weird noise, whatever. He did not like this truck, so he took it into a GM dealer to go trade it in. And it turned out that the GM dealer ran a Carfax on it, and this truck was actually wrecked by the dealership before this customer bought it as brand new. And it's absolutely ridiculous because you wouldn't think that you would have to run a Carfax on a brand new car, but that's exactly what this gentleman would have had to do to even realize that it was wrecked. So a lot of times these new car dealerships they can run either service vehicles, they can run demo vehicles, and in this case it was a demo vehicle for I believe a sales manager, and a sales manager drove it for, I think it was about 6,000 miles, and during this time frame that sales manager actually wrecked this brand new truck. And the dealership got it fixed. They took it to a collision center, and that incident report was reported on Carfax. But when you're going in and buying a brand new car, you're not thinking that you need to run a Carfax on a vehicle, right? And this dealership didn't even offer Carfaxes on their new vehicles. You wouldn't think that that's something that they would have to provide anyway. So this customer, when they went to trade it into this GM dealership, obviously the GM dealership, when they're taking a trade in, they want to run a Carfax on it to make sure it's not been wrecked. And obviously this customer was like, well, it's never been wrecked. I've had it this whole time. No problems, right? I've never wrecked the car. But he found out that day, yeah, this was in a pretty serious accident, and it happened before he bought it. So he bought this brand new car from this dealership, and it was pre-wrecked. It was a brand new pre-wrecked vehicle. So I wouldn't ever think that I would have to tell people when I'm giving advice, going to buy new cars or whatever. But we're seeing a situation now where there's vehicles that you can go buy that are still listed as brand new, but have 500, 2,000, 5,000 miles on them. You need to get a Carfax run on these cars before you actually buy them if they have significant amount of miles. And when I say significant, anything over about 500 miles, tell the dealership, look, I want you to run a Carfax on this. And the salesperson might look at you like they're ridiculous, but you can pull up a story just like this where this Ford dealership is actually having to pay damages to this consumer because they didn't disclose any of this information. This dealership tried to just cover it up and just sell a brand new car. Like, oh, no problem. It's just one of our demo vehicles, sales manager, no problem, right? And that customer was none the wiser until a little bit later when he was unhappy with the way that truck was driving, traded it in, and he actually ended up losing a lot of money. Now, the court's going to end up taking care of this for this customer, but this is a situation that can happen to really anybody going to buy a brand new vehicle. And if it's got miles on it, you probably need to have that dealership run a Carfax for you. But earlier on in this video, right in the beginning, I was talking to you about how dealerships can get creative as far as what they do as far as listing them as used or new. One thing that we found that had happened quite a bit in the last 2 years, especially on vehicles that were very hard to find, and one in particular was a Toyota Sequoia, and I saw this with my own eyes. My wife was with me. We were shooting a video, and we went to a Toyota dealership, and they had a Toyota Sequoia. I can't remember how many miles. I think it was either 200 or 300 miles. It was crazy, crazy low. But they were offering it for sale, and it was marked as a used vehicle. Um, and it just seemed very weird to me, and I couldn't really figure out exactly why this dealership would do it until I started putting the pieces together. Very highly desirable vehicle, and they were posting it for sale. I think it was like $120,000, but the MSRP at that time for this Sequoia was, I think, somewhere around like $80,000. So what this dealership was doing is two things. One, they were going ahead and marketing it out of their used their new inventory. They're selling it to an employee or ownership, maybe title it under their name, so they could show it as a sale. So once you sell one of your vehicles, you're able to turn that into the manufacturer saying this is a sale, and then you can do what there's a turn and earn kind of system. So once you turn vehicles, you earn more. So if you sell the Sequoia, that's telling your manufacturer, hey, I can sell this, get us some more of them, especially if it's a highly desirable vehicle. They want to get their name on the list as quickly as possible to get those highly desirable vehicles into that dealership. So as they were able to sell that car instantly, then that just tells the manufacturer, hey, we can keep pumping allocations out to this dealer. That's one scenario, especially for a vehicle like that Sequoia. But the second thing is, they're not any guidelines from the manufacturer or from the laws given in the state to how much you can advertise the vehicle for, or what you have to show if it's a used vehicle versus a new vehicle. Now, on a new vehicle, they have to display the MSRP. If there are add-ons, anything like that, they have to display them clearly beside the sticker and show that specifically what's going on, especially if it's a market adjustment. We saw that over the last 2.5, 3 years, that a lot of these dealerships were putting market adjustments, and they had to put it right in front of your face. So if that Sequoia had this $40,000 markup, they had to literally list it out saying you're paying $80,000 MSRP, and then you're paying a dealer market adjustment of $40,000. But if this is a used vehicle, they can just put the price of $120,000. So in effect, they're still making the same amount of money, but they don't have to show to the customer that they're tacking on that extra $40,000. So there are other situations where we've run across where dealerships are trying to show sales when maybe the sales aren't really happening, and that's with service loaners. So you'll have a service loaner fleet that a dealership will have, and that's whenever a car is being fixed, whether it's under warranty, if there's a recall or whatever, then you can actually get basically a brand new car that they have in their fleet, and you can go drive it for a little while they're getting it fixed. Whenever me and my wife, we bought our Toyota Venza a long time ago. This has been six years that we bought it. The back hatch didn't open the way it was supposed to. It was electronic open, and for whatever reason, the motor was having some issues. And we said, okay, we'll buy this car from this Toyota dealership that we were looking at. But we need to have this fixed first. And they said, yeah, no problem. We'll get it fixed. So we bought the car, and they set up an appointment for us to bring it back. We brought it back to them. And while they had it fixed over the next 2 days, we drove one of the brand new Toyota Camrys. So this one falls into that situation. But what's happened over the last couple years is really twofold. One, they were trying to get some of these highly desirable vehicles so they can instantly put them into their service fleet, show them as sales. But what's happening more so right now is for dealerships to keep up allocations and to keep their turn and earn kind of system and getting cars into their dealership. right now they're having a hard time selling vehicles. We recently went to a GM dealership that had a bunch of Buicks, and all of them had like a program special or something on them. And we talked to a salesperson, and what they said was that all of those vehicles that had that sticker on there, that they were service loaner fleets that they pulled out of the service loaner fleet, and now they're selling them on their lot. But what's basically happened with this dealership is that they had to show sales so they could get more allocations, and they weren't selling them to customers. So they have to get creative, and they have to move them to, all right, over here to show them as a sale, even though they're still sitting on their dealership. And we're seeing that a lot more right now because it's getting so slow at a lot of these franchise dealerships. And it's going to be something that we're going to continue to see. And I'm very interested to see how many more different ways these dealerships can really move cars around to get them to be displayed as sales. Another situation that can happen, and we've talked to some of these the people that work at the dealerships that actually move cars around to different dealerships. So a lot of dealerships are owned by one company. You'll see like Hendricks Toyota, and they'll also have a Honda dealership. They'll have a Jeep Dodge Ram dealership. But these dealership groups actually employ people that all their job is to literally move cars from different dealerships. So there's a couple things that they can do with this. One, they can pull them off of their inventory to show as a sale, so they keep up their allocations. Another thing is they can start switching floor plans around. They can start transferring from one floor plan to another floor plan to be able to at least keep their inventory turning. And at the end of the day, the ownership group is still going to foot the same amount of bill for the floor plan, but they're just showing different timing, and they're turning inventory. Maybe, okay, this Jeep's not selling over here at this dealership, let's send it over to a Toyota dealership. And you can go to a lot of dealerships right now and see vehicles that only have 200, 500, 1,000 miles on them, but they're not the actual brand. You can go to a Honda dealership and see a Jeep Cherokee there, and that's pretty much brand new. And in a second here, we'll get to some questions in the chat. So if you've got any, throw them in there, and I'll try to get to as many as possible. But what I really want to really touch on, the biggest thing about this video is just to talk about different ways that dealerships can move different vehicles and situations that it can really put themselves in, especially if they're moving a lot of these vehicles to different dealerships. Then you can go into the same situation where, I mean, we had the story come out where there was 6,000. You can see that's the damage that they actually paid to get this truck fixed. $6,298 that they paid to this collision shop to be able to get this fixed, and they did not disclose any of that to the customer. And it showed up on Carfax, and they still didn't do that. And the dealership ends up having to pay this $100,000 settlement to this customer because they just didn't disclose it at all. But anyway, I'm gonna go to the chat and see if there's any questions. And if you guys do not have any questions, then we can jump off here. All right, my wife's in here. You got anything interesting?
Yeah, we got a few good questions. Let's see. Let's start with this one. I know you've talked about it before. Will EV prices continue to plummet as the market corrects?
Yeah, so what we're seeing right now is not necessarily, so the EV market right now is falling a lot harder than the overall used car market. And one of the big reasons is, well, there's a couple of big reasons. One, adoption has already happened, and most EV buyers are very affluent buyers, and they tend to lean to new EVs versus used. And we also don't have the longevity of being able to see how long these EVs last. I know that Tesla has been around for a very long time, but if you look at other manufacturers like Ford with Mach-E's, Ford Lightnings or whatever, they haven't been around a long time to see if, okay, after 5 years and 50 to 100,000 miles, are these things just absolutely done? And that uncertainty for buyers, um, especially the buyers who have money to buy new vehicles, they're probably not going to take that risk. And that's why you're seeing used EV prices fall so much. And then you have another element of, okay, well, because the prices have been pushed down a little bit, because Elon keeps dropping prices for the Teslas, and it's become very volatile, is a company like Hertz, who bought a ton of these Model 3s. They're not able to predict what's really going on with pricing. They don't like that. They like to be able to say, okay, we want to keep these cars for 3 years. We know exactly how much we're going to get out of them. They're not able to do that with the EVs because the market's moving so much. And on top of that, you're having a bunch of issues with customers not wanting to actually rent these EVs. They thought that everyone was going to want to get an EV when they go rent a car, but the people that are traveling, they don't want to have the hassle of finding a charging station. And even if it is a thing of, okay, it's fine to be able to find a charging station, you can charge them overnight, whatever, it's easy. That's not the perception. And the perception means so much more than reality when you're having consumers actually spend their money, because if there's any uncertainty there, they're just not going to do it. So that's what Hertz has found out, and they ended up just dumping a ton of, what's going on?
I don't know.
They ended up dumping a ton of these Model 3s into the market, and that is just majorly pushing down the price of a lot of these Model 3s. So yeah, I think EV prices will continue to go down. I'm myself even looking for a used Model S to because the prices have gone down so far. Haven't found the perfect one yet, and I'm going to wait a little bit because I see the prices continuously going down. Um, so I'll wait, and I'm going to buy it for a trial to see if see what is up with used EVs. I'm covering the used car space, so I've got to know a little bit more about EVs and used EVs and how their batteries hold up. So that's an experiment that we're going to try and see what happens. But yeah, I think the EV market will continue to fall farther than the ICE used market.
Okay.
Next question.
Here's one
If
from
you
a
have one.
recent video. How did you and Michael Bordenero meet? You should start another finance channel.
So I'm not going to start another finance channel. No, definitely not going to do that. But me and Michael, I think the first time that I met was one of our first collab videos that we did, and we asked a bunch of different creators to come on our channel and just talk about the economy we wanted to do just overall. And we had overwhelming response. We were trying to make like a 12 or 13-minute video, and we had so many creators join in with us that I think we had to make it like 15, 16 minutes, and we cut like almost half the footage from everybody that sent it to us. Even one of the creators, I told him that, oh, we got too much footage. I told him to send me a minute, and he sent me 3 minutes. And he said, well, that's what you get when you put a bunch of blowhards together. And that's what we all are. We can talk about nothing forever. I mean, we're at 8 minutes and 35 seconds right now. So I'm giving you an example of it right here. Yeah, but anyway, he was a part of that video, and then just every other collab video that I did, I shot him an email because he was so great in the first one, and then I returned the favor to him, and he got me to get a couple clips to him for one of his videos. And we've just formed this friendship, and we talk every once in a while. We talk YouTube stuff quite a bit, and I really like to. I mean, his audience and my audience are very, very similar, even though he's covering the real estate space and more of the broader economy, and me just covering the car market. But what we've seen is that people who watch his videos watch my videos, and people who watch my videos watch his videos, just because they're looking for things in macroeconomics. Me covering the car market, him covering the housing market, very similar type of audience. So we share a lot of title ideas. We share a lot of thumbnail ideas. We talk quite a bit, but over that time, we formed a good friendship, and he decided to do a road trip across country, and he came up and met with us, and we were able to get a couple videos out of it. So it was very, very fun for us to do. But I think that's all the time we have. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't. Like this video, and I hope you have a great